and everything else.
Je m'appelle Joy.
Je m'appelle Cheryl. And Joy and I are two very old friends who are going to talk about murder and everything else. Yeah!
Bonjour! Bonjour Sunday!
Croissants!
A quick disclaimer. Remember, we are not fluent in French. And a quick reminder that this is not a show for kids. We like to laugh, we like to tell jokes, we like to talk about murder. So keep in mind, it's for grown-ups.
And we like to cuss.
We do. We do a little bit of cussing sometimes. Sometimes we do more cussing than other times.
Yes, this is true.
Do you say curse or cuss?
Both curse, cuss, and swear.
I say fucking cuss.
Yes, you do.
That's right. So what kind of disclaimers you got for me, Cheryl?
Well, I just want to say one of the things. Our last episode was the death of Rebecca Zahau, and I forgot to mention, because I think this is a really important. It's an opinion, okay? But sometimes rich people can get away with murder. I'm just going to say that. You know, it's we all know that there are many stories out there where someone who was very rich got off on murder, and there was a lot of evidence that pointed to their guilt. So, yeah, I do believe. Don't you think money can buy freedom?
Oh yeah, totally. And
You can pay
remember,
off.
you can afford a really high-powered attorney with a big name if
Yes.
you're someone famous or if you're someone who has connections or you have deep pockets. You can also bring in the best psychologists, the best specialists, the best forensic people, and pay for expensive reports to be done and afford, a legal team instead of just an attorney.
Yes, like a dream
So,
team.
right. So,
Wink,
if you
wink.
think about it, it is one of the things about our judicial system and our criminal system that is it's sad. It's yeah. I remember once being obsessed with court TV and watching a lot of court TV because I loved the cases where, kind of like that, what's her name? That judge that's famous, she's always screaming at people.
Judge
Anyway,
Judy.
yeah, I used to love watching these people use their judgeness to basically, basically teach idiots a lesson or put kids in their place. But I remember asking several uh, people I know. I have a sibling that is an attorney, and he told me that, you waive your right to a fair trial when you go on those shows. You
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
also sign waivers about this and that, and sometimes, like you can't retry something if you didn't feel like it was a fair judgment because you're going on a show, and it's not it's it's just not all it's cooked up to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, yeah. And then I stopped being obsessed with court TV because it just seemed like wrestling or anything else that's in the um, reality TV genre, which it is scripted. It might not be rehearsed, but there might be more than one take.
Right.
So they set it up to look like it's um, Janet's doing the dishes, and her daughter comes in to talk about how she got her first tattoo when she was on vacation for spring break, and then Janet comes in. Janet's doing the dishes, and her daughter comes in, and they didn't like the way it came across, so they record it 13 times.
Right.
I know that's not rehearsed, but it's also
Not spontaneous.
it's not
spontaneous.
spontaneous, and it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
reality. I mean, they've
Right.
set it up for there to be a conflict and there to be confrontation and for there to be, because it's ratings. I mean, that's what the whole new Real Housewives franchise is built off of.
Mm-hmm.
And these other shows like 90 Day Fiance and blah 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 blah. And what is the other one? Love is Blind. And the other one is that I really used to like was, I don't remember, but it's in that genre.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
The Bachelor, which
I
by
was
the
gonna
way,
say that.
I just have to say, I don't know if you saw this, but someone sent me the trailer for The Bachelor, and it's called The Golden Years or something like that.
I sent it to you.
The Golden
Oh my
Bachelor.
gosh.
Oh yeah.
I was
And
you guys,
he's in his
every
60s or 70s, so they're gonna actually have a show. And I Googled, or someone Googled, the average age of the women. They're not gonna be 25. Because I was like, well, it's freaking Hollywood. If he's 65, they'll
No.
bring in 5 30-year-olds and one 25-year-old and a couple of 50-year-olds. Nope. They're going to be literally like 60 to 75.
I know it's gonna be interesting.
It blew my mind.
I'm
I
thinking
was
about
like,
watching it.
I'm
Joy,
totally going to watch it.
Joy, having you as a friend is like being
Wait.
in the movie 50 First Dates. Do you remember that?
No,
Where
I never saw it.
So Drew Barrymore, every morning she doesn't remember anything from the day before and back. And so is it Adam Sandler? He tries to make her fall in love with him. I don't know, but
Every
like
day.
every
I'm gonna
time,
watch
you guys, that I start talking to Joy, I have to remind her who I am. I'm the one that sent you. Oh, I love when you
But
tell me
listen,
something. Like
instead
you're
of their
like, she discovered something, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the one that told you that.
Oh my God. And then when like I've heard that in the regular Bachelor, like the girls will like sneak into the Bachelor mansion and try to like hook up, like to get points, when they're like filming it. Instead, it would be awesome if the like bachelorettes show up at the Bachelor mansion and they like have like Metamucil, and then they have like what are those tablets called that you take to be able to fall asleep at night? Anyway, I just think it would be so funny.
Well, okay, no shade to our 70 plus or hey, I'm going to be 60 next year. Can you believe that?
That's awesome. By the way, did you know you get a 10% off discount when you shop at certain places and when you eat out at certain places? You should be telling them, can you make sure I get the senior discount? Because I think you get it from 55.
I think I was getting AARP solicitations in the mail when I was like 49. But yeah. Anyway,
well, let's head into our highs and lows. You want to take it away?
Yeah, I do. And normally I start with my low because I always like to get bad news first and then end it with a high. But I'm going to talk about my high first because my low is very low and I'm not going to be able to jump into a high after that. So, my high is that my husband Kevin, he was he ghost wrote. He was a ghostwriter for a friend. I just got approval to talk about this because I also want to promote the book. So he was a ghostwriter for his friend Emilio Trejo. Hey, Trejos. And he wrote a book for Emilio about Emilio's life coming from Guatemala to America when he was a young man. He didn't speak a lick of English, and he worked his way up to the food and beverage manager at the Beverly Hills Hotel. It's a very inspiring and heartwarming story. And I'm so proud of my husband. And I helped him proofread it many times, and we are not the most scholarly people, so there'll probably be errors in the book, so don't read it too harshly, everyone, please. But it's going to be, I'm sorry, can I do this? I'm totally
yeah, plug it away, girl. Plug it away. And you listeners need to run out and buy a copy, okay?
You don't even have to run out. You can do it right from your dang couch
run
or your
out
bed.
to your computer.
Okay, it's going to be available on
Phone.
Amazon probably within the next 24 hours. The title of the book is 44 Years at the Pink Palace, and it the artwork was done by Emilio's son-in-law, Ruben. It's gorgeous cover, and I'm just super proud of Kevin because it is a really heartwarming story, and I can totally see it being made into a mini series. I really, really do, because it's just really interesting. I mean, and the perseverance and the the respect that he had for the job he was doing. I mean, he started off as, okay, actually, I think it's on the back of the book. He started off as a dishwasher. So,
Wow.
and that's no shade to dishwashers. It's only as an example of how hardworking he was, and how much,
Wow.
self-respect he had, and for the hotel and everything. And it just got, nice anecdotes, funny anecdotes, some very heartwarming, some funny about the celebrities he came across. Anyway, again, my husband was a ghostwriter, so the book is under Emilio Trejo, Trejo, and the book is called 44 Years at the Pink Palace. It'll be
That's so
available
cool.
on Amazon probably within the next. Oh, actually, here we go again, Joy. By the time you hear this, it is on Amazon.
It will be. It's
Yeah,
not right now, but it will be when you hear this.
when you hear
Ooh, and
this.
when he comes home from it from his trip, you need to play him Ghost Riders in the Sky.
I will. I will.
It's
And then
awesome.
my low, and I wasn't gonna talk about this, but you were open enough about your low. You were very open, I should say, with your low last week. So about the shooting at your daughter's college, which was just horrific. Um, but someone very dear and near to me, and I'm not going to say who, but I'll talk to you about it after, Joy, is in a psychologically and emotionally abusive relationship.
Hmm.
And it kills me to my core. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, as someone, as not a bystander, but you are so close and yet so far. Like, you can't really do any. I mean, I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
What
I
do you
think what
do
you
if
I
someone?
think what you can do is let them know that you're there if they ever need to talk or if they ever need support or like a shoulder to cry on. But the fact of the matter is that um they're the ones that have to
Make that
do
decision?
the hard work of deciding to either leave the relationship or and create healthy boundaries. But the
Mhm.
other thing is a lot of times, and this is the part that's hard, is um in order for the relationship to be abusive is it you know it's give and take. So yeah, so I just feel badly for the situation, and I hope that them knowing that you're out there and available to be a support is of some comfort to them.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but it's a lot. Anyway, let's go into your high and low. Let's change the subject to something happier. I want to
All
know
right.
about the latest shoes you bought.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start with my low because I just changed my high like 10 seconds ago. But my low is that I had to change the dates of my trip to come to Arizona.
I know. I'm
And so I'm not
sorry.
gonna get to
Boo.
see you in October
Boo.
or
I know.
September. And
Or
instead I'm
November,
gonna
December,
have
January, March,
right.
April.
So I pushed it off to spring because Cheryl's getting operation and because I have a week's vacation this week. So it just didn't work out. She's going back, you know, you're going to be going back to work and I'm going to be working. Our schedules just didn't sync up. Your operation is going to happen in October now. So it'll happen. It's just going to happen later date. Also, we have some like, you know, technology stuff that we're going to try to like, we're going to try some new stuff soon. And I was hoping that we could do it together, but we may have to, you know, we got this off the ground with you being there and me being here. So maybe we'll be able to get the other technology stuff that we're trying off the ground with us being in separate places. Who knows? I mean, we are something of technological goddesses. So I'm sure that we'll be able to handle whatever technology throws at us. So that's my low, but it's not like a low because obviously I'm going to still get a chance to see you.
Yeah.
And then my high.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
What's the word? I can't think of words right now.
Just a setback.
Oh, and pride was the word I was looking for earlier about Emilio, and he had a lot of pride for his work and himself. He just had a lot of pride in his work and his life. Anyway, I love when words come to you much later than you need it, but yeah, it's just a delayed high, a delayed. It's gonna come. You're gonna come and see me. Ooh, sorry, I just hit the mic. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So my high is that yesterday I had to take my kid to a birthday party in another town that's like 45 minutes from here. So I drove through we were having these massive thunderstorms, blah, blah, blah. And then I went to my favorite thrift store, which is over there. And I walked in and I love this thrift store because I always try on like 600 things. I ended up just getting a t-shirt. And then I found this vintage Coach bucket bag that I love, 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 love. And it was like this bag retailed back in the day when it was really hot for over $500, probably $550, $575. It's so beautiful. It's in mint condition. And I got it for a steal, guys. Trust me, a steal. I'm not going to shout out, but let's just say it was less than $75, which is a steal. And also, did I say it was in mint condition?
Yes.
I also tried on these cute shoes I'm probably going to have to go back and get. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, I tried on like 75 pairs of shoes, but this bag, and literally at one point I was walking around the store with 5 bags hanging off my shoulder because I wanted to try them all out and see what they felt like. But I am so excited. I got to tell you, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 bags that I carry, rotate on a regular basis, and they're all thrifted. Every single one of them.
Great.
Yeah, and and it doesn't stink. So I got a new bag, and it doesn't stink. It was thrifted, which means it was previously loved, which according to Cheryl means it's haunted. But it's not haunted, and the reason I know that is because I'm in touch with other forces, and I just know it's not haunted. So anyway, that's my high. I want you all to know that if you want a new purse or something that's beautiful, consider going to a consignment shop or a thrift shop and looking for something that has been previously loved or unloved and dropped off, because 1, you're saving the environment by not generating new garbage, and number 2, you are giving something vintage new life, and number 3, I don't know what number 3 is. Oh, it's not going to cost you thousands of dollars. It's only going to cost you a mere pittance of what that purse cost originally. And yeah, so there. Anyway,
does anybody want to see these shoes and purses that Joy talks about, her new purchases? Let us know.
Let us know.
You know how. I'm not going to say it again.
You can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com. All right, so we're going to head into our giveaway updates. No new updates. Okay, so that was that. And we also have some other cool updates. Guys, listen, drum roll, okay? We have 2 new countries to add to our list of countries listening
And
to Murder and Everything Else. And I'm going to read all of the countries just so that you guys have a little refresher on the countries that are listening to us. Okay? I've been kind of hung up on our subscriber numbers from Spotify not growing, but then I stumbled on our list of countries and I was tickled. And they are United States, Canada, Ireland, United Kingdom, the Philippines, and India. We were holding there for a really long time, and I'm so excited and over the moon to add Belgium and Australia to that list. Guys, if you didn't know that, we are a global phenomenon.
that's so awesome. That is very exciting. Actually,
Yeah.
that was my high yesterday when you told me that. Was it yesterday
Yep.
or the day before? That is so awesome. Awesome,
Yep.
awesome, awesome. Yep. Keep it going. Keep it coming. We want
That's right.
all, however many countries there are.
That's right. And since we started this episode out in French, we'll probably be adding France to the list very soon.
Or not,
Yeah,
because of
or
our
not.
French.
Or not. That's right. All
Um,
right. And Cheryl, you got a shout
I
out?
do. I have a shout out to my friend Priscilla in California who turned 60 the other day. So shout out to
Holy shit
Priscilla.
balls.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday. She's old too.
Happy. Yeah, she is. Um, yeah, it's amazing. We met, Priscilla and I met dancing in a show, a pilot, and then it turned into a TV series, which was awesome. Well, we only did like one season, but nevertheless, it was 1986, so we have known each other a long time.
Say the name of the show.
It was Dancing to the Hits. You can, if you want to find anything, just contact my manager, Joy Kim McKeon, and she will give you all the information. No, but anyway, 60, that's a big one. It really is a big one. So happy birthday, Priscilla. And I also want to just give a little apology, mea culpa, whatever you want to call it, about our last week's episode regarding the movie that I watched on Netflix called Girl. I said something about the trans and queer community. I was actually quoting it. I got it from some site, that there was some criticism about casting someone that wasn't so what's the proper word, Joy? So Joy has to
Transgender. That wasn't
Oh yeah,
transgender.
translucent. I'm like, I can't think of words today. Oh my God. Okay. Well, anyway, so I understand that trans is frowned upon. The word trans is frowned upon, and I did not mean to offend anyone. I was actually, and I'm not trying to be defensive about it, but I was actually quoting something I read, that the trans and queer community was upset that they didn't use a real transgender actor. But anyway, I just want to say, and I'm not trying to say, oh no, it's because I read it, but I just want to say that I apologize if anyone was offended. Okay?
Thanks, Cheryl.
So what you got, Joy?
Well, we are heading off of Murder today, and we're going to talk about a docu-series on Amazon Prime. I got to say that I don't really ever head over to Amazon Prime to watch stuff. And if you are in charge of the movies on Amazon Prime, or if you're Jeff Bezos, and I'm sure you're listening to this, because why wouldn't he be? You need to do something about, excuse me, you need to do something about the quality of shows on Amazon Prime, and you need to beef it up, because at the $148.35 that I'm paying annually for that membership, which by the way, I'm getting really, really, really close to canceling. I've canceled in the past and I'm not afraid to do it again. Um, I don't really feel like I'm getting much. And so anyway, but I had held off on clicking on this because I think some of you have already know this, but I was raised in what I consider a fundamentalist environment. I had a lot of these um, experiences as a child growing up, alternating between being homeschooled. I only went to Christian schools that were affiliated with the religion that I grew up in. And so we rubbed shoulders with a lot of people that held many of these of the tenets of this docu series as words that they live by and how they conducted themselves. And so I was concerned about it being like kind of, triggering
Mhm.
as far as bringing back a lot of just like really I don't know, uh memories and things that I tend to not really focus on
Want
anymore
to
in my life.
forget?
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, the docu-series is called Shiny Happy People, and it focuses on the Duggar family, which was a reality show on TLC, and it's called 19 Kids and Counting. But
Mhm.
when it premiered in September of 2008, it was called 17 Kids and Counting because the couple, Michelle and Jim Bob Duggar, only had 17 children when the show started.
Only.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when they officially started, so they started the actual show on September 29th, 2008, but they had a couple of specials on TLC prior to that, like like a fall special, just kind of like almost like a little like like a Diane Sawyer interview kind of a thing. You
Hmm.
know how she would do like I don't know if you ever saw where it was like Diane Sawyer, Gail King goes and spends a day with the people who have the Octomom, for example. And
Right.
then it would
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
be a train wreck of children. Well, so they did several of these,
Yeah.
and there were several things that TLC really honed in on. Remember, TLC was also the home of Little People, Big World, which was the Roloff family, which was two a couple that had achondroplasia, so they had dwarfism,
Hmm.
and they had four children, twin boys, one who also had achondroplasia and one that did not, and then they had two other children that also did not have achondroplasia. And it taught the world, at least this part of the world, a lot about what previously people had used a lot of slurs to refer to and had a lot of misconceptions. Like, for example, if two people with achondroplasia have a child, it's still a 50% chance that that child will be born with achondroplasia or without. So that's why three of their children were born without it, and one was born with. Because,
Hmm.
everybody was like, because sometimes people will, if you see someone who is not, who doesn't have achondroplasia, who marries somebody who's like normal height, um, they still have 50% chance. So I learned a lot about it. And also you learn a lot about how people in the world that we operate in, where everything is what we consider standard height, is so awful and like impossible to navigate for people who have the challenge of not being as tall as you or I. And
Right.
you and I are not that tall. So you
Oh
think about
no.
like, I look at somebody like my husband who's 6'5". He has to spend most of his life stooping to, like on planes when he'll stand up. Sometimes people will be like, "Whoa, how'd you get in that seat?" And it's true. It's like he can't even get his knees sometimes behind the chair in front
Oh my gosh.
to
Yeah, I
to
can
and his feet
imagine.
don't touch the ground because his legs are so long. And so it's not just people who are shorter, people who are taller also. We don't accommodate people who are, who have those kinds of things. So TLC kind of honed in on these situations where they also had, I think that's where that show Sister Wives started, where it was that whack job in Utah with all those wives who didn't seem to mind being splashed all over TV. And as luck would have it, I believe he's now been divorced by almost all of them. So bravo.
Right.
Maybe I should have moved it over to Bravo, right? Anyway. So I guess Bravo's got the corner market on the housewives, and that seems to be working out for them. But anyway, so this show, 19 Kids and Counting, follows the day-to-day lives of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar as they raise their 19 children in Arkansas. And it's a rural part of Arkansas. They chronicled the milestones like weddings, births, vacations, and family business ventures. And it's a 4-part docuseries. So it is a little bit of a time investment, but it's very well done. So it doesn't feel like 4 hours because for those of you that know me also know that I am somewhat obsessed with cults. And as you watch this docuseries, you realize that this family is involved in very much a cult, and it's a way of thinking about raising children and having families and your lifestyle. And it is a cult they belong to. And that's why they have 19 children. But anyway, this show, 19 Kids and Counting, ran for 10 seasons and they had 18 specials. TLC says,
Wow.
yeah, 10
Almost a
seasons.
special per kid. Almost.
Right? And remember, the specials are like 2 hours or more. And
Wow.
imagine the amount of like cameras in your home and how little autonomy and privacy this family had because of how much filming was constantly going on.
Right.
TLC suspended airing the show on May 22nd, 2015, and I'll cover the reasons why they suspended airing the show.
Okay.
The Duggars are independent fundamentalist Baptists. And so, the Baptist church is, especially the Southern Baptist church, is very conservative. They are very anti-LGBTQ plus, and I'm not talking about modern Baptists who go to like a more ecumenical type of Baptist church where they accept people from many walks of life and are very open. I'm talking about the Southern Baptist fundamentalist religion. It's very conservative. They don't support couples living together outside of marriage.
Mhm.
So you're not going to be like living with your boyfriend or girlfriend before you get married. They don't support having children outside of marriage. And they would rather see a couple get married at the age of 16, 17, 18 rather than randomly just like shacking up or having kids together. They also tend to not support drinking, any alcohol consumption at all. And it's just, and they tend to also be readily identified, the fundamentalists, by the way they dress. So the women follow the Old Testament biblical mandate that says a woman should not cut her hair. So they keep their hair long. And the only thing they'll cut is bangs, if any, to style their hair. They tend to wear long skirts and not show anything above the ankle. They will wear short sleeve shirts, but they won't wear sleeveless tops because they won't show their armpits, because that is it's too scandalous and too revealing. They won't wear anything that's low cut or shows any cleavage. And for women and girls who have large breasts, anything that shows a line is considered cleavage. So for all those women out there who have really large breasts, that, and even flat breasted women know this too, that depending on the size of your breasts depends on where that line starts. So some of you might have a line that starts right where at your throat. So again, and then also, so it's the way they dress that's very identifiable.
I have a question.
Yes.
Wait, real quick. Do they have to wear their hair up?
They can wear the sides of the hair up or a ponytail, but it's also okay. So they have this another belief that like especially these fundamentalist groups like the Duggar family, that men are born with lust that they cannot control. So it is up to the women to shield themselves and to carry themselves modestly, to therefore not tempt the men to act upon those lusts. So some of the exercises that the girls would do through the teachings is they would give them pictures, and the girls have to circle the areas that would prompt this lust in the men. And these are the problem areas that girls have. And so if your hair is up, but you're wearing something that shows too much of your neckline, it
Oh
can be
my
a problem
gosh.
area. So there is nothing on a woman that could be considered not a problem area. All areas of a woman's body could be problematic. Like, how about the shirt? Is it too tight fitting? Does it shape the body too much so that it makes the breasts too revealing? Is the neckline too much ties or rhinestones or glitter so it draws a man's eyes to, like, say, the décolletage area of a woman, and that the in in doing so makes a man have lust by staring at that area of her body.
Oh
And it applies
gosh.
even like to, yeah. So yeah, you have to. And even like necklaces, is the necklace
Drawing
um
attention to
too
that
eye
area.
catching
Yeah.
and right and draws a man's eye?
Why don't they just make them wear burqas?
Exactly. Right.
Wow.
But anyway,
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
so anyway, the Duggars, not only are they fundamentalist Baptists, they also are connected to the Institute of Basic Life Principles, which it's an acronym, IBLP, and the Advanced Training Institute, both of which were founded by this guy named Bill Gothard. And this guy, Bill Gothard, is a fundamentalist Baptist guy. He never got married. He's still alive today. He's living quietly somewhere in, I don't know, Indiana or Iowa or Ohio or something. And we'll talk a little bit later about why he's living quietly and no longer in charge of this IBLP as he once was. And he wrote a series of um, and conducted all these seminars. And at one point was drawing crowds of like hundreds of thousands of people to these seminars where he would charge all this money, and he had training camps for kids, and he had teen camps, and he had adult camps, and he had homeschooling camps, and he had all these different like beliefs. Like, he had like a military camp where you could go and learn military training exercises, because he believed that Christians were going to take back the United States and in turn take over the world. And he had family training institutes where you could go and learn how to be a better parent, and homeschool training institutes where you could go and learn how to homeschool your kids. Because again, remember that in order to be part of this army of like fundamentalist Baptist believers and believe in his rules and tenets, you had to separate yourself from the rest of the world. And you don't just separate yourself by the way you dress and the way you carry yourself and all that. You also separate yourself physically. And homeschool is one of the ways to do that, by removing yourself. And also, by homeschooling, you no longer are rubbing shoulders with LGBTQ plus people,
Mm,
with people who don't
wow.
look like you. And I read further into this, meaning people of color, because the majority of these people are white.
Mm,
And also, people who are involved in secular aspects of the world, people who watch television, who have the access to the internet, people who listen to popular music, people who dress in provocative styles, people who follow fashion trends, and because all of those things obviously are worldly things. So at the heart of Gothard's teachings was the importance of respecting God given authority, and he preached a strict hierarchy of divine authority, with Jesus at the top of the authority list, followed by the church, then elders, then employers. Remember, a lot of these employers are people in the church, and then husbands. And think of it as like umbrellas
Mm-hmm.
that have a smaller umbrella below and a small, and then remember, under the husbands are then responsible for protecting their wives and children below them. So also by way of authority, men have authority over women. And Bill Gothard believed that he took this straight from the Bible.
Okay, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Don't lose your thought. Sorry. But just so you said that women are supposed to behave or dress or whatever in a manner not to entice men, right?
Right. Right.
That's it. But then they do get married.
Mm-hmm.
So your own so that's that way of living and those rules are put aside if you're going to marry someone. Or is, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, how is the guy
Yeah.
going to be attracted or something? Like,
Right. So
like, you can't have it both ways.
this was one of the things that drew people to this show, 19 Children and Counting, and that is because the Duggars, so remember, these kids are all being homeschooled. So the only
Okay.
access that they have to members of the opposite sex is their siblings and or other families that believe similarly.
Right.
And so if you live in a rural community, you might only have access to your siblings or to another family that's also conservative, fundamentalist, Baptist, that also, and you'd get together and have like church services at your home or at someone's home each week. And that would be your only social outlet. And so one of the things that kind of turned into a freak show about this Duggar family that people were like astounded by is, starting at a young age, 14, 15, 16, a boy would go to his father and say, I am interested in, let's say, this other family that we meet with every Sunday for church or whenever every, for prayer meetings, and they have a 14 or 15-year-old daughter, whatever age daughter. Let's say her name's Susan. I'm interested in Susan, and um, I would like to begin courtship with Susan. And so they would, the father would go and speak with the other father, very much like an arranged situation, like you hear,
Mhm.
for example, with very like traditional Indian families or even Chinese families that have had arranged marriages in cultures where that's still a practice. And the father would then approach his daughter and say, well, David over here wants to begin courtship with you. What do you think of that? And because the kids are taking this homeschool course written by this guy, Bill Gothard, where all the girls are learning is how to cook food and make bread, change diapers, and do laundry and fold clothes and iron and use a sewing machine and identify what areas of their body are considered like, tempting to the opposite sex. They're not really they're not learning anything that's beyond that. So they're only really being set up for a life as being a wife and a mother. And
Okay,
so the
but
girl will say yes. And then remember, the courtship, and this was the big freak show for TLC and for the Americans and everyone else watching. They would only hold hands and they would not kiss until their marriage.
okay, but so then does the girl have the green light to start sporting a pixie haircut and
Nope.
wearing booty shorts? Well,
No.
how is she gonna make babies? How is the husband gonna be?
Well, because, and remember, there's like no sex ed and there's no information about reproduction and there's nothing. They left, the reason it was such a freak show was they left Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar talked very openly about how they left the number of children that they had up to God. In so much as their last child was born with a myriad, and I don't mean to laugh, but my husband used to say that Michelle Duggar was carrying her uterus around in a bag that was strapped to the inside of her legs. And the reason you couldn't see it was because she wore those long skirts. He said he said that like she'd had so many children that damn thing was like flopping out. And
Oh my
I
God.
know that sounds horrible and disgusting and crass, but their last child was born prematurely, I think at 21 or 22 weeks. I don't know the actual number, but there were serious issues.
Complications.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about the baby spending so many weeks in the NICU, and about it having like hearing or sight difficulties and being impaired later on in life or having disabilities because it was so dangerous for her. And the doctors had cautioned her, I think, about having additional children. And then she even went on and got pregnant after that with her 20th pregnancy. And I think she was like, I don't remember how old she was, but she lost that baby and she had a miscarriage,
Mhm.
and they put it on the show, and of course she was devastated. But remember, her daughter-in-law was like having her fourth or fifth kid at the time she got pregnant with her 20th. I mean, I'm sorry to tell
Oh,
you
I
this,
remember that.
but first of all,
Yeah.
I mean, I got to tell you, as fundamentalist anything, there are so many children on this planet that need a good home. Like, how about like let's start with the whole like missionary part of the Bible where it's like take care of your neighbors. Like go pick up some of these kids who need someone to take care of them instead of popping, it's like good lord. How
Okay,
are
wait.
you even going to feed these kids?
Right? Okay, I'm just gonna say something, and I don't know if I just thought that maybe, I just realized I might have been jumping ahead. Um, you may have eventually gotten to it, but I just want to ask one more thing, or just make a comment. So they were okay once they were married. Were the women allowed to enjoy sex, or was it like
Well, I
we're gonna procreate, like that's the goal, that's the only goal
well,
of having intercourse, was to
I
procreate?
I think the only I can't say whether or not they were allowed to enjoy it. If they were, they certainly were not going to talk about it on this documentary. And I don't want to say that nobody did, because obviously there is a lot of love between these couples. Some of them so much love, you can see it in the way that they're being interviewed. But I will also say, and I'm sure that Jim Bob and Michelle like to get freaky because, girl, they got so many kids. Those two people be doing it like rabbits.
Well, but that's what I'm saying though. If you're a true fundamentalist, you is your goal just to procreate? I guess we can't really tell. I mean, you can't really say because you
Well,
don't. I
I
don't know.
I
I
think
mean,
I
like,
think that I think that by by sheer luck, some of these people probably enjoy it. But I got to tell you, if you're getting married at 17 or 18, if you're getting married at 17 or 18 and all you did was give a side hug to your husband before you got married, and you're not even allowed to kiss until your wedding ceremony, and you've had zero instruction on what happens to a woman from her neck down, what makes you think that they're going to enjoy? You know what I mean? Like, it literally is
well, they could.
blind or dumb luck that any of them like went on to do it more than once.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or they might have been like letting, like I can't think of an analogy right now, but they might have just gone wild, which is understandable. Or
Right.
are they wearing this whole get up, this whole garb, and even while they're having sex?
Well,
Anyway,
I will
I will
say that
not
if
take
you
it down.
go back, if you go back and watch 19 and Counting from the minute of its conception, the girls dress decidedly different from beginning to end. One, their hair changes. They go from having this very fundamentalist hairdo. Now, remember, the girls are also really young when the show starts. And
Mhm.
then by the end of the show, like four of the oldest girls are married and having families of their own. So it changes drastically.
Right.
They're also wearing more jewelry. Their outfits become more fashion forward. And I don't mean skirts get shorter or shirts get skimpier. I mean, now they're wearing like jean skirts that are cute and trendy and flared and have, like rhinestones, or they're wearing jean jackets with like, it looks less like Walmart style and more like you know,
No diss to
mall, yeah, like more like American Eagle Outfitter or Gap style.
More stylish.
But also remember, they're making a lot of money, the parents on the show, and they probably now have stylists that are going out and looking for like conservative clothing the girls can wear so that they don't look so frumpy dumpy, and they're getting their hair done by a makeup artist and a hairstylist, and because there's a vested interest in TLC poshing up this family so they don't look so, you know, I mean, so kind of like, hillbilly-esque, if that
No
makes sense.
diss to hillbillies.
Exactly. So anyway, I just also want to focus on, there is one couple that does the majority of that, they keep going back to interviews, and it's one of the daughters of Jim Bob and I can't stand that name, Jim Bob and
You know
Michelle.
what? I was gonna say, can you just call him Jim? Because whenever you say Jim
No.
Bob, it's like
Yeah, I know, right? So, and it's a couple, what they do is they end up breaking with the family because what they realize in the course of them getting married and leaving the family compound and leaving where all this filming has been happening and kind of stepping away from this umbrella of control under it's her father is Jim Bob. Because remember now, based on their religious belief and this Bill Gothard IBLP belief, she's now under the umbrella of her husband. He now is in charge, but they end up finding out that Jim Bob had signed contracts that locked the kids in well past the age of consent, and they're not benefiting financially from all the filming. They have to come back and film specials, and then it becomes more than that. So let me just back up a little bit. One of the things that's really upsetting is you find out through this documentary that Michelle is in charge of the babies that are being born at an alarming rate until they're weaned from being breastfed. And then when they're weaned, now remember, sometimes the mother weans the child, but as someone who nursed two children until they weaned themselves, sometimes the child will wean themselves at a certain. So it's not always the mom's deciding. And at that point, the parent can decide if they're going to like continue to pump and give breast milk in a bottle. But a lot of times, like with one of my kids, I couldn't get one of my kids to take a bottle because I was a stay-at-home mom. And so could I could nurse her out on demand.
Right.
So when the child is weaned, then Michelle would assign the child to one of their older siblings. So especially for these four older girls, at one point, at a certain point, they're in charge of 3 to 4 siblings. And this is where the homeschooling comes in really handy, because when you're at home all day, you can wake up 3 to 4 siblings and get them their breakfast and get them dressed. And you can get them cleaned up and do their, make their bed and teach them how to this and that. But if you think about it, why should a 12-year-old, especially if you're next in the rotation, or a 10-year-old even, be in charge of 3 other kids? They're not. And Bill Gothard's training taught that this was training young girls to be good parents and be good moms.
Wow.
I mean, it's awful
That's
because
crazy.
a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old is not a parent. They're an older sibling.
Right.
I mean, anyway, I'm just going to run through the names of these children so you can hear what kind of a train wreck it is. The oldest is Joshua. Then it's Jana, John David, Jill, Jessa, Ginger, Joseph, Josiah, Joanna, Jedediah, Jeremiah, Jason, James, Justin, Jackson, Johanna, Jennifer, Jordan, Grace, Josie, and Tyler, which is a great nephew that they've adopted. So that's why Tyler, boy, I gotta tell you, Tyler made out like like a bandit because he doesn't have a name that starts with J.
Where did the J come from?
Jim Bob,
Oh,
right?
I don't know. Oh yeah, forgot about
So
Jim Bob.
the oldest son, um, the oldest son named his kids. He has 7 children, all starting with M. And we're going to get into that. But anyway, let me go back. So, one of the things that you notice when you watch this show, 19 Counting, is you don't see children acting out, you don't see temper tantrums, you don't see naughty behavior. They're always clean, clean cut, clean haircuts, always wearing polo shirts and khakis, almost very like uniform like. And for anyone who's had children, this is not normal behavior. And one of the things that the docu-series focuses on is the heavy use of corporal punishment to break a child's spirit under the age of 10, so that, and probably even under the age of 5. And they talk very openly about corporal punishment used on babies, which is abuse, straight
Mm,
up
oh my
abuse.
God.
It's straight up abuse for a child under 10, for any child, but like, to think that, these families are spanking or beating their children to teach them, to break their spirit. And they
God.
talk very Bill Gothard talked very openly about breaking a child's spirit. So anyway, one of the things also that's really awful is, as this docu-series is talking about the Duggar family and the Duggar girls, it's also digging into Bill Gothard, and it's revealed through the course of this docu-series that Bill Gothard is a pedophile. He was never married. He is still not married, and he would talk openly about being a handsome bachelor. But I got to tell you, after the age of 55 or 56, handsome bachelor loses its appeal for
Right.
anyone. And then he just
Mhm.
turns into some creepy old dude who is always surrounded by around the age of 12 to 14-year-old girls, so basically pubescent girls. So you start getting a real idea of what's going on. And sadly, one of the things that is revealed in this docu-series is also that the oldest Duggar boy had molested, I believe, 4 of his sisters and another girl who has didn't come out who it was, but it was a total of 5 girls, 4 of them being his sisters. And the sad thing is, the Duggar girl and her husband that they interview, it's obvious that she has so much shame and embarrassment and humiliation around the topic of this molestation, because she doesn't want to talk about it. She said it's already been discussed and dealt with, and it's been put to rest. And why do we have to, like, she doesn't want to talk about it anymore. And her body language and the way she talks about it is very clear that she is not willing to reopen that, but it also indicates that she hasn't really fully dealt with it, because the amount of shame that she displays from the topic and the way she talks about her shame is awful. And it's it shows a lot of unresolved emotional toll that this has taken on her and her sisters. And the girls actually film a segment for TLC where they talk about how they've forgiven their brother and all this. And remember, the parents buried this for some time because they didn't want the show to end, because remember, it's a cash
Mhm.
cow.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
making money hand over fist, that and their kids aren't making any money off of this. And the dad has signed the kids to all these contracts, like for years, that they're going to come back and do all these specials, even after the girls are married and have families of their own. And so he has a vested interest in this information not coming out.
Mhm.
Um, and the girls have zero control. And um, so it's really, really heartrending to see how, in order for them to gain control, and in order for them to start the process of healing what's happened in their family, they basically have to break with their family. And this is, remember, this is all they know. This family is all they know because they were homeschooled. They didn't go to a regular school. They don't have friends outside of their family.
Mm.
And so it's very heartbreaking to see the emotional toll that it's taken, because the parents, the other thing is, when a child has something like this that happens to them, this kind of trauma, you grow up looking at the people who are your parents, who you love and you believe in, and this whole ideology, you realize that it's chock full of holes, and you realize the people who are in charge of you are lying to you,
Mm-hmm.
because they're telling you one thing about purity and chastity and honesty and trusting your father and God and your husband, and basically men being in control. But then the exact people that are supposed to be in control are the ones who are abusing you. And
Yeah.
so you don't know what to do, what to think, or who to turn to, because you realize the people around you are liars. So anyway, the so Josh Duggar, so when TLC, basically when this all happened and the news came out, TLC pulled the plug on this show. The girls were coerced somehow into going on TV and saying that they had forgiven their brother for this crime, et cetera, et cetera. The wife is, I believe, pregnant with like her fifth child, and she's got these four toddlers because she's had Josh's wife, Anna, has had kids in quick succession, just like her mother-in-law, and just like her own mother, who she's idolized, because she knows nothing different.
Right.
And and then remember that Ashley Madison scandal where that website went down and all those names were released in a hacking
Yeah.
scandal,
Yeah.
and it was
Mm.
basically where you could go and have illicit affairs with married
Mary.
men, could go and have affairs with women, and it was all secretive. Well, Josh Duggar was one of the names of who was on this list, where
Mm.
he was, basically having sex with people. And then the last thing that came out in this docuseries was that during this whole time the FBI was working on a sting operation on a child porn case. And it turned out that the person who was buying and selling some of the most egregious child porn that they had, like, were watching and interacting with, was Josh Duggar.
Wow.
And yeah, and of course, and apparently, so backing up just a little bit, when the dad found out about the son, or when it came out that it wasn't when he found out. They knew what Josh had done to his sisters and this other person.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came out, they sent him away to a work camp, which was basically under this Bill Gothard IBLP, system, which was basically a place where he did some outdoor labor. But it was also like for kids who had been identified as having problems. And usually it was sexual problems. Like they were caught masturbating, they were caught looking at porn online, they were caught downloading porn, they were caught molesting kids. They were caught having sexual contact with people. They were caught having, what the parents considered gay behavior that they had to like basically squelch. So they sent Josh away knowing full well that this had happened. So they had already hidden, some of his behaviors that were troubling. So
Mm-hmm.
when this sting operation happened, it was not surprising to anybody that that uh it wasn't surprising to any like of their close friends and family, because he had already admitted to the sexual abuse of his younger sisters, and the family had sent him away, and then he came back supposedly reformed of all of his bad behavior.
Mm.
Yeah, so Josh Duggar is currently is still married to Anna Duggar, and he is currently convicted and serving a 12-and-a-half-year prison sentence. He was convicted in 2021. And a 3-judge panel of the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rejected the appeal by Duggar to have his conviction overturned. And his wife still lives in the Duggar family compound in Arkansas, so with her in-laws, with her 7 children. She planned to move to Texas to be closer to Josh while he served his prison sentence.
Wow.
But because of the public scrutiny, she changed her mind.
Oh.
So,
is divorce like frowned upon no matter what
yes.
the reason is?
Yes.
Even
You
if
do,
your husband was a serial killer?
yeah, you do everything you can to avoid divorce. And just so you know, there are 4 Duggar girls that are estranged. And it doesn't surprise me at all that the Duggar kids that are estranged from the parents and the family are the 4 oldest girls.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, those are the girls that, came out and claimed something for themselves, but also were the ones that were, that had to go through this horrible experience, and also found out in their 20s, early 20s, that they didn't have a penny from this show, but they were still signed and under obligation and
Ugh,
legal contract to
do all
show up
those
and do all
specials.
these extra specials.
God, can you imagine?
I
Ugh,
know. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
that is. Can you? Oh my God.
Anyway, there's so much more to this docu-series, and that I didn't even cover, like how Bill Gothard has people in all corners of government and state government
Oh
and
man.
county government and US government. Jim Bob Duggar was trying to run for a Senate seat when the scandal broke about his son. And Josh Duggar was trying to run for local government. I mean, the belief is that if they raise up an army of people who can go out and infiltrate government and other areas like the police and military and all these different areas, that what they'll do is claim the country back for the conservative faction of people who believe, that LGBTQ people shouldn't be, that we shouldn't have protections for LGBTQ, that we shouldn't have abortion rights, that we shouldn't have autonomy on how we teach our children, like we shouldn't have public schools, that we shouldn't have public education. And I don't mean just at the elementary and middle and high school level, I mean also at the college level, that we should be raising up an army of Christians to basically go out and stamp out sin. So it's like, it's so insidious, and it's fairly crazy. And in light of like what's happened recently with like the rolling back of Roe versus Wade and tossing it to the states, I will say that it's amazing how what we don't think of as being a big deal, what a lot of people said, oh, it's not a big deal. He'll only be in a 4-year president, or one term,
Oh my
twice
God.
impeached president. How there's so many ripples that,
Yeah.
when people like this, like the Duggars and others that believe in this crazy, like pedophiles teachings, um, it takes hold and people run with it. And
Oh,
and next thing you know, like a bunch of shit's happening where women are second class citizens and we don't have rights and autonomy over our bodies and our decisions. So it's important to pay attention to little things like this. And so if you have interest in cults, and it is a cultish mentality and belief, if you have interest in cults, and if you have interest in you know this kind of subject material, I say head over to Amazon Prime and watch this. It's called Shiny Happy People. And like I said, I only touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this docu-series. There's so much more that gets unpacked. And it was actually very well done.
mm.
And you don't even really have to know about this show from TLC to be horrified by this by this docuseries
It's a
and this guy.
standalone horror show.
Right. Exactly. And
Wow.
also this guy, Bill Gothard, it says that according to tax records, 88-year-old Gothard now lives quietly on Arlington Avenue in LaGrange, Illinois. So, what the church and the organization and IBLP and the fundamentalist Southern Baptist organization did was what a lot of churches do, because I grew up, like I said, in a very similar environment, and I watched this happen time and time again, is instead of pressing charges for his crimes against children and his pedophile behavior, because remember, he has victims out there who have come forward and talked openly, but they weren't able to sue because of statute of limitations and things like that. They just fired him as the head of IBLP, and they said, go away. And he went home and he's living a quiet life, probably, off of his whatever millions he stashed away. And Jim Bob Duggar and Michelle Duggar are very, very, very quickly trying to replace him as the head of IBLP. So that's the lesson we learn in these environments is if you behave badly and you've committed all these heinous crimes, you'll get slapped on the hand and you'll be sent home to live quietly and die of natural causes when you're 95.
Yeah, just go away and
Yep, go away, don't cause problems for us.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, because it's too shameful. It's too shameful to air that dirty laundry in the public, on a public forum so the world can see. And that's why a lot of these cults, and I hearken this back to like that NXIVM cult that I talked about and others. They operate very much in the open, but because they but because they don't they separate themselves from the world, so to speak. They don't get the spotlight, and a lot of times this behavior is just I mean, you'd never know. You have neighbors, you have friends, you have people around you who do this, and you find it more in rural settings because they're easier to hide in rural areas because nobody's gonna drive down a farm road and check out the house that has 19 children in it.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, how scary.
I know, right?
So scary.
So crazy. But anyway, I know we didn't talk about murder today, but
murder of a child spirit.
Exactly. But you know what is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
Oh, that is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch created and managed by Kevin Callan. Podcast editing and advertising by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezek. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube, and you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.